Welcome to Business Reporter's Improving Business Performance campaign. I'm your host, Michael Barrington-Hibbert. In these series of interviews, I'll be discussing the progress and pathway towards diverse leadership with business experts and leaders. Diversity is good for business. No one knows that better than Romney Savova, CEO of PensionBee. She leads an organisation where 40% of the workforce comes from a non-whites or non-British background. And business is good. So good, in fact, that PensionBee has recently IPO'd with a total valuation of £365 million. Today we'll be talking about diversity in business and PensionBee's climate-friendly investment approach that's taken the industry by storm. Romy, thank you so much for being with us today. First and foremost, congratulations on a fantastic IPO.
Thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey.
Can you tell me, how did the company originate? How did it actually form and what was the concept behind it?
Well, I had worked in the city and so knew the financial services landscape rather well, or so I thought, until it came time to move my own pension. So when I was leaving Morgan Stanley, I had to move an old pension.
Right.
And I tried to get a financial advisor. I tried to call various pension companies, insurance companies and platforms. And first, people didn't call me back. The ones who I did speak to didn't really know how to talk to me in plain English.
Okay.
Pensions is a really, really complicated subject. And so finally, I made my way over to a platform that bombarded me with thousands of different fund options. And I chose one. It wasn't a great decision. And I realized that so many people would be in a similar position. And so the pain of having to move that pension, which I eventually did, inspired me to do something more for consumers using technology. And so PensionBee was born from that frustration with an idea to use technology to help people combine old pensions into a new online plan that they can then manage from the palm of their hand.
Talk to me about how you've been able to have an organisation which is actually a microcosm and reflective of the society that we live in terms of London.
Yes, it's been absolutely strategic from the very beginning. We have a product, a pension product, that we want to appeal to everyone. Our mission is to make pensions simple so that everyone can look forward to a happy retirement. And by everyone, we truly mean everyone. And so it's been really important to have a company that is that reflection of society, so we can build products that appeal to a very, very large market. And as a result of having that diversity within the company, we're able to hear different points of views. We're able to make decisions in a way that is reflective of what society as a whole want to see from companies these days. And we're able to bring people along on a very inspirational journey with us. And so, yes, absolutely, it fits entirely within the strategy and helps to propel the growth ambition.
Having a diverse organisation clearly has made you competitive, soon to be profitable, and be able to identify and bring in strong customers into the franchise. What examples would you give another CEO in terms of why it makes good business sense?
I believe it makes excellent business sense, first of all, from an internal perspective. You want your employees to feel like they can be themselves at work. And often to be yourself, you need to be surrounded by people throughout the company that you feel are either like you or enable you to be you. And that ability to bring the whole of yourself to work can generate huge productivity gains for the company. It generates better engagement, better teamwork, better cohesion, and ultimately that culture and the strength of that team is what enables you to move quickly. And I think it's important for diversity to be present throughout the company. We at PensionBee have a really strong promotions program. So when we hire into the company, most of our new starters will begin talking to customers or doing customer service
Okay.
related activities. And throughout that program, they build an enormous wealth of experience about our customer base and what our customers want. And therefore, we have a strong tendency to also promote from within. So the vast majority of our level 2 and level 3 and beyond managers have come from the people who have served our customers. And so we've been able to push the diversity that we get at the entry level through the entire company.
Sure.
And that is also, of course, inspirational for all of the new starters.
Why do you think the wider business community just haven't caught up with what you've been able to successfully implement at PensionBee?
It's a great question because it makes so much sense. And normally businesses are all about doing things that make sense. Unfortunately, I think there is a huge history of the way things were. And especially within financial services, it's very common to sit in a room staring at people who are, completely different to you and completely like one another.
Yes.
And I do think that people have a tendency to hire like themselves. It's an unconscious bias that creeps into everyone because when you're hiring, you are putting your trust into someone. And
Very
it's
much so.
easier to put your trust into
much so.
someone who is like you and who has been through a similar career journey, who perhaps looks like you. And so it's important to find tools and mechanisms to get rid of that. And so one of the things we've instituted is actually blind promotions. So
Okay.
we will promote people internally when there is a competitive process for a promotion through blind hiring. So the hiring manager actually won't know until the very end who it is that's going to be taking the job. And the way we do that is we create practical tasks that every candidate has to complete under the same conditions. And then, of course, we get feedback on past performance within the company. And those two things are put together by the HR team, and the best scoring candidate ultimately gets the job.
HR are empowered to drive that change.
Absolutely. We are all on board with the same mission. And so everyone wants to contribute in the way to make it work at the company. It's important to us all.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about ESG investing and who actually benefits?
Well, ESG investing can be exceptionally broad. And so it really matters what you mean. There are two broad strands of ESG investing, and we have both approaches at PensionBee. The first is the most commonly known approach and most commonly associated approach, which is to exclude companies that you don't believe should be in your pension. The second approach is around engaging with companies who you want to change by using your shareholder power. And so when we think about the first approach, the exclusionary approach, it's about taking companies out who simply don't align with your values. And at PensionBee, we had huge calls to remove fossil fuel producers from certain pension funds. And so we launched one of the UK's first mainstream fossil fuel-free pensions, which doesn't invest in fossil fuel producers, but also doesn't invest in tobacco companies and other companies that simply don't align with people's values. And so you can have your pension money in a pension that aligns with your conscience. The other strand is engagement. And because you're a shareholder, you actually have the power to change all of these companies. And so shareholder activism has very much been on the rise, especially when it comes to the oil industry. And shareholder negotiation really has been critical to encouraging the large oil companies to set carbon reduction targets. And we are seeing some progress from that, but they are two very, very different strands.
Okay. And what about the returns? Based on that matrix, does ESG pension funds outperform traditional pension funds?
Well, certainly over the past couple of years, we have seen a level of outperformance. And of course, you can think about some of the troubling moments within the oil sector over the past couple of years. So yes, there has been a tendency for outperformance. Past performance, however, is not a guarantee to future results. And so we have to see how these funds adapt to new conditions. And increasingly, while a lot of the investment community has been focused on the E of ESG, the environment, more attention is now turning to the S, the social factors. And so for ESG funds to continue outperforming, it's important that they capture all of the elements that will lead towards that outperformance.
What advice would you give them in order to be able to evolve and adapt and grow and enhance the value that you've been able to get out of a PensionBee?
Well, I think the first thing that certainly comes to mind is that we're all people. And I think being yourself at work is the most important thing. For me, because I spend so much time with my colleagues, working on my company, doing things for PensionBee, I have to be myself all of the time. And I think that it can be really, really empowering to be able to do that and to show your team that you are, you are there just like them, achieving the same mission and working towards the same things. And I think the male CEOs named John, they are people too. They have personalities too. And I am sure that their teams and their staff and their customers would love to see more of who they truly are at work. And I think it creates an environment that people truly feel that they can achieve in.
I would like to say thank you very much for taking the time to meet with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.